Hey, what's up, guys? It is DJ. We are back taking a look at some more footage for Farming Simulator 25, and we're starting with a Massey Ferguson 9S and a Novag seeder. Now, Novag has been a mod in Farming Simulator, I believe 19 and 22 both, but it is coming as a base game feature. Also, one of the really cool things with the Massey Ferguson is it's the 9S. Now, this is something I got to see for the first time in person back at Agritechnica last year, but it's super cool that it's finally coming to the base game. You guys can use it as well. Now, one of the things I focused on here when I was recording this footage was the GPS. Now, that was kind of the footage, a lot of the footage I got was that. This is a regular seeder, so it's going to have all the normal stuff. Also, I realized that this does peas as well, so when you're seeding peas, it is definitely going to be with this right here. We have the green line going straight down the middle. This was something that some of you guys have said, I really don't want that. I don't want, GPS lines everywhere. You can still hire a worker with this if you want to, and the worker will use the exact same lines that the GPS would, but the GPS lines wouldn't be there. I'm hoping that Giant Software have this in a mode somewhere where you can turn off the line, but as you can see at the top left-hand corner of the screen, there was no button for me to turn that green line off. Now, this was a place I was still kind of learning how to use GPS, and you can see the lines on the other field popped up. I went across it. I was like, all right, well, how do I do this exactly? Kermit was actually behind me talking me through this, so you can see the two headland lines all the way around. So I was like, okay, well, instead of just going back straight, I will follow along these lines right here. One of the neat things was sometimes it will go completely straight. Like here, we've got straight on, and then the field is going to turn off to the left. It did miss some spots down there, though, so you kind of have to line this up properly if you're going to be using GPS. So I tried to go out as far as I could, and then actually on the next turn up there at the end, the GPS actually turns for you. Now, I understand GPS is supposed to do the steering for you, but I thought it was just straight lines, at least at this time, and maybe you did as well, I don't know, but hopefully this will help you out, at least answer some questions about GPS that you may have had on how it works. So you might be able to see the green line. You could see it there, maybe through the trees. Come on, DJ, get the camera out of the way. You can see the straight green lines. Whatever that green line is, it is going to turn there. So I actually went off the line there for a second. I was like, oh, okay, don't have to do that. But I also noticed that it did miss a little bit right there at the edge when it came to seating. So I don't know if that's going to be a big problem or not with all pieces of equipment. Of course, as it says at the bottom left, this is exclusive preview footage, which is not final. So we've got that. Also, this is not a straight edge right here on the end, and it's still doing a really good job. So I thought that was super cool and something that I wanted to mention to you guys. So yeah, Novag seeder, nice Massey Ferguson 9S, big old tractor, which is absolutely beautiful, with a front weight to match. Oh yeah, and there's peas right beside my face right now. And then here you will have to stop and turn yourself around and line back up with the side. You can see it turned yellow, so it is available to select. But again, I think we may have almost missed a little bit back there. I think I looked, yeah, we missed a little bit. So that is what it is. What are you gonna do? This is a pretty cool piece of equipment, pretty cool setup. It's also really nice to see some of the traffic going around the map. Tell you what, I'm excited for this. GPS is much different than I thought it was going to be. It's a lot less functionality than I think a lot of people were expecting, but it is still pretty neat. And we're in, so let's talk about green beans and peas next. Unfortunately, there's not a lot to talk about. By the way, one thing to talk about is this fog coming off of the water, as well as the fog going through the lighting on this tractor. I think it looks really cool, but let's talk about green beans and peas. So there was a couple things that we could figure out, a couple things we couldn't figure out, and I do want to give a big shout out. Ooh, that was a big bump. I want to give a big shout out to Farmer Cop for finding out all of the things that we knew about peas and green beans. Without him, I wouldn't have even known they existed. I mean, we kind of assumed that the peas did because of the harvester and then one screenshot, but regardless. So this is the very beginning of the demo that we were playing, and I'm showing this so that maybe if you guys ever get to play the demo, you will be able to see where to go in order to find where the green beans were and to find where the peas were. So here I'm trying to turn around and go straight. Actually, it looks like there's an idiot driving right now. Farmer Cop was behind my ear going, oh, go this way, go that way, get on the road. And you could also see there when I'm driving on the road, I go faster. That's why I went over to the road. So It's the third field up right here. And if I remember correctly, this was green beans. Also, yield bonus of 195%, but only 100% fertilized. I don't know how that works. It also needs rolling, and it has partial weeds in it. I don't know how that works, but they look great. I think it's pretty cool. We had green beans growing up, but I don't quite remember what they looked like, and we did everything by hand. One of the things we think, because you see they're growing in rows like this, we think they're going to be using a special machine. However, we also think that you might be able to use a regular combine harvester. I'm not exactly sure, so hey, if you know, let me know, because I'm not 100% sure. So now we're back over to the Massey Ferguson 9S, and I've completely gotten out of that tractor, and I'm running over because this field right here is the peas field. This also has weeds, medium, needs rolling. They are growing, not ready to harvest, and yield bonus of 110%. They look good, but I think with all the weeds in the field, it's kind of hard to see them up close. But yeah, we will have that big Oxbow pea harvester because we already know about it. Next, let's talk a little bit about ground deformation, and specifically ground deformation when it comes to different vehicles. So these, I think, are either wide or normal tires on the T7. You can see where they were sitting. When you load it into the map, they were pretty deep into the field. As we're driving, we're not driving as deep into the field, but if we run over the same spot, it does dig into the ground a little bit more. At least that's what I was able to find. And this vehicle specifically digs into this ground specifically more than any other vehicle that we've seen. Weight plays a lot into this. So I was doing a little bit of testing here specifically, trying to get that to dig into the ground as much as possible. So I was like, all right, well, what about weight? How is that going to affect? And obviously, well, the seeder back here, or planter, now, it weighs a little bit, so I wanted to see how that was going to change up things. Also wanted to showcase, at least in this video, that when you seed over stuff, it completely goes over it. This is different gameplay footage than we've shown previously, although we're kind of showing the same thing, whereas before it was focused on, seeding rather than the ground deformation, but still pretty darn cool. And also right here, I do want to point out, you see those lines? It's not multi-terrain angle, but at least with the planter lines, the planter lines right here, it is a little bit different. And then, of course, you could drive right over that again. Some people like this. Some people don't like this. I kind of dig it, but I do think it's maybe a little bit much. So we'll see what the final is. Again, it's not final footage. I also wanted to show here, going through the cultivated ground, it was one thing, but going through here, a field that's either ready to be harvested or growing, whatever it is, I'm not getting much tread going on. If I'm going fast, everything was fine. But when I slowed down, it did start to dig in just a little bit. And here I am going full speed, and you can see it's very irregular. So it's not happening as smoothly as when I was going slower. So I wanted to show that. Also with this, so this was definitely wide tires with weights on here. And we had tracks on the machine in the back. So when I turned, it dug into the ground. There was a lot of force pushing forward there, and then let go of the seeder, and then you can see there's barely any. Also, there is a little bit of a lag when it comes to the video. I was using a capture card for this, so that's why that is. But this, I mean, not too bad. So it should give you an idea of all right, well, the 9S or S9, was it 9S? I think so, yeah. You would expect that to weigh more than the T7, and I think it does, but you would expect it to be much heavier. But you can see here, there's barely any ground deformation until I turn. And it's because there's so much force being applied to the front of the tractor, it's just digging straight into that ground. And that's why it's doing that. You can see right here again, you start to slow up a little bit, then it starts to dig into the ground. It's really interesting. I'm excited to jump back in and kind of figure all this out again and see why certain bits do what. And you see I let the trailer go, and then virtually no crop destruction, or not crop destruction, any ground deformation. And then when I started to turn really fast again, did it again. It's a very interesting thing. And then here we are just kind of flying through, and I'm getting some ground deformation, and I get a little bit of a jump there, and then going through this field, although I don't know if there's any type of ground deformation there. Now this one was interesting because you would expect with the tracks there's less compaction over a wider span, and that's exactly what I found. There's basically no ground deformation with the tracks. Now, as far as the wheels in the back go, I couldn't really see much. There is a lot of weight on those rear wheels there. I also don't know if I could let go of this thing or not. I think I had to take it with me. Yeah. So, yeah, tracks kind of act, I think, the way you would have expected them to. I also tried to dig into the ground there, and I think maybe we got a little bit into the ground. It definitely, real life, you would have skidded right into the ground, but yeah, not there. And that's it. I've got, I think, 4 more videos to show you guys, so those are going to be coming out in the next day or 2, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helped you out and maybe answered some questions, and it could have even caused more questions than were answered. Hey, if that's the case, let me know what they are down below, and let me know what you think about the game. I've seen a lot of positivity. I've seen a lot of people that were not so positive about the game, and everyone's opinion matters. So if you have one, let me know down below. Otherwise, hope you have a great day. We'll see you later.